Thanks, Annie. Good morning to everyone. And I'm happy to be here and introduce to the new wave that Infovista has put together to really face the transformation from physical to virtual of the telecom networks. Let me just start from a very simple concept. For 40 years, since the time I started to work in the telecom environment, the way in which operator have faced the different part of design a network, testing a network, building a network, and manage the network has been considered a sort of vertical, separate, independent phases. When now we are facing and looking inside of the transformation within cloud, we understand that in reality these separate phases, and let me move to the next slide. These phases that has been separate for many years, in reality now need to get connected. Let me just make an example. If I'm designing a RAN, a network, a radio network, and I'm starting from the data that normally I've collected in the past, and I define the coverage based on, for example, population density, based around the geo that in which the radio antenna is to be set. I get a good understanding, but definitely is not something that reflects the full reality, because the traffic, in particular the mobility, it's moving by definition. So the density of the traffic can change time by time, hour by hour, and also is very dependent by the event that the customer fundamentally are tracking in terms of different application and different activity that the subscriber are doing over their device or over their mobile phone. So fundamentally, the possibility, for example, to map and to design a network based on real-time data that can be collected by other vertical elements like the insurance side or the experience, the insurance tools, can provide a much more precise design of the network since day one. So in other words, everybody understands through these 40 years that in reality, looking the planning, looking the testing of the on the radio side as well as on the core side, looking the performance monitoring of the different network elements and the service quality management at the service level, and then finally what we call the experience of the customer with what is normally recognized as quality experience. This element in reality cannot be considered anymore as a separate one, but need to be connected. Fundamentally, we as Infovista realized this talking with customer and based on a multiple year of experience, and we decided that a couple of years ago to really create a new paradigm. And the new paradigm is in reality, all these different activity has to become part of the same life cycle fundamental of a network. And all the information that each of these activity generate can be part of the data that the next level require to be more precise, more adaptive, more close to the reality, and fundamentally help at the end of the day the operator to reach the result with a much more higher precision, a much better return of investment, and very important, a much more lower total cost of ownership, because you don't have to duplicate, but you reuse fundamentally what you already have in terms of information from the previous step of the life cycle. So fundamentally, what we have done, we have started to really share all this data that we generate with our planning tools, with our testing tools, in particular on the radio side, with our performance monitoring, fault management tools, and with our experience insurance tool. On top of this, that's what we are doing now, we are also adding the automation side, because as you know better than anyone, the fact that we go toward fundamentally a telecom over the cloud, and in which the telecom service is become a set of application that will be deliver specific use cases for the customer that require a level of dynamic changes that cannot be done anymore manually. So the network has become dynamic, the services are become dynamics driven by the customer. So at this point, all the different tools that in the past were under the name of OSS or fundamentally DSS or the network operation center or service operation center need to become a fully automated set of applications. That is what Infovista is doing. We are probably the first company in the world that have already a full cloud native solution, all built around the containerization of this application. And this application can be fully automated in terms of process automation, in terms of analytical automation, and also in terms of network automation. Go to the next slide, please. In this slide, there is a very high level, fundamentally, architecture of our solution. As you can see, we fundamentally ingest all the data that are necessary to ingest, fundamentally from the traditional data source that can be the performance monitoring that still exists as a part of the network element management concept. Of course, the alarm and the fault, the telemetry from the infrastructure, the geolocation that come from the radio side, the inventory of the different network elements. We just different the data, and we have a common framework, as we call, that's full containerized, in which all our application can coexist and can leverage a common platform together with the capability to exchange information result application by application. So on top of this, as you can see in the blue, we have the traditional experience assurance, the performance management, the RAM monitoring, the active testing, and the planning, as we were seeing before as a vertical separate element. Here, these verticals stick within a common platform with the capability to share any type of data result and fundamentally get automated as a process automation, as I said, or data automation, as well as a network or planning automation, fundamentally through an automation engine, and that is driven by an artificial intelligence operational module that, based on the result and the use cases that we are facing, it can take decision and fundamentally drive automation, either at, as I said, process level or even at the configuration level by interacting with the configuration management. Go to the next, please. What are the benefits? The benefits fundamentally, even if it seems to be all the time that everybody is saying the same thing, in reality, number one, and that was the number one objective that we had in mind, is make the deployment time much more shorter than today. We will hear after my presentation from Petrit how great Rakuten is in really moving down to a level of the result in terms of deployment time that was absolutely impossible to think until a few years ago. Decrease fundamentally the total cost of ownership, because you know better than anybody else that in reality operators are buying and are spending even more money to move to 5G. So that means that many customers, many operators are still paying the 4G, and now they have to invest money on the 5G, on the new frequency and so on. So the only way to really decrease the total cost of ownership is to increase the automation. Increase automation, it's a way to decrease the CO, and it's a way, as I said before, to manage the fact that the network dynamic, the traffic is dynamic, the customer is dynamic, and the customer need is changing continuously, and it's impossible fundamentally to predict how the customer will use without having a complete knowledge and control of the entire infrastructure and ecosystem. Team productivity, that's very important. Team productivity is linked to the TCO, but also is linked on the capability fundamentally to create much more shorter workflow. Today, I think that everybody had experience to call a customer care or an operator or use the self-service on the web. And the target of everybody in this industry is to have the shortest possible time for the customer to find a solution to the problem that is submitting either to the customer care or that is submitting through the website with the self-service help system that everybody has. At the same time, we know very well that the quality experience, in particular for enterprise customers, but it's true now for everyone, and need to be improved. If somebody ask us for more money because we want to stream Netflix or YouTube or Amazon Prime in the best way, of course we pay, but we must want to get the quality experience that we are paying. And the quality experience has been always a big subject in this industry since the 3G time. In reality, we have not done enough to really guarantee the quality experience. If you think that the 5G can create a different level of quality experience expectation based on the network slicing, here has become even more important to have something in the end of this of the operator and of the service provider that guarantee the quality experience per network slicing based on the type of contract that the subscriber signed with the operator itself, and that's one of the areas in which Infovista and NLA, it's I think that has a very innovative solution. Last but not least, fundamentally, 5G, is a big challenge. Yesterday, I was attending another roundtable, and the question was, is the 5G bringing really new revenue opportunities to operator? That was a question. In my opinion, yes. And the operator need to be very innovative because it's clear that monetizing the capability to monetize the 5G OTT is a challenge, but become the ecosystem orchestrator for enterprise private network built on 5G or for the IoT ecosystem, that in my opinion is two of the areas in which the operator can really maximize and increase and find new revenue stream from the 5G technology. That's another area in which, as a company, we are very focused to provide what the customer need to really win in this space. Go to the next, please. Last but not least, I want to link the NLA concept to what we have put together with Rakuten. And the concept is when you do planning of RAN side or even on the core side that include the backhauling part and so on, as I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, was normally based on information about the population density, about the coverage, so the morphology of the territory and the seats and so on. In reality, that is a good way, but that does not guarantee you the optimization of the ROI, because in reality, there are many other parameters that you have to ingest to really create your best possible planning. And what we built an intelligence that stay on the top of the planning design tools that can, first of all, understand and take consideration the revenue model. How, as a company, as operator, I'm planning to get my revenue out of this part, because there are different ways. You can have a RAN sharing situation that is different from owning 100% the RAN. You can have a situation in which you are covering a financial district that's different from the area in which you are covering a residential area. So the revenue model is key as an input parameter. The time to market, that's very, very important. Also, the TCO model, what is the total cost of ownership that we have, we want to consider, and the quality experience model. That is a fundamental element, because I may need to cover an area in which I know that my customer are willing to pay a premium for the top quality, or I may be in an area in which the customer are good with the normal quality, so I should not really count on having a revenue coming from a higher quality. So at this point, taking consideration all these different type of input, we can optimize the network planning and the network design, not only to have the best coverage, but to have the best return of investment based on the business model that the customer has input to the system. The beauty of that system that it can work on top of multiple different type of data source, and that it's a real break in the market. It's the first time that someone is bringing such level of intelligence, not only on the technical side, but considering the business side as a driven factor to design for and to plan, in this case, a radio network and the radio coverage, together with all the accessory as a part of the backhauling connectivity to the core. At this point, I have end my presentation. Thank you very much for the attention.
Okay, and now Dr. Petrit is going to continue on our theme.
Okay, go to the next slide. Hi, everyone. So thank you, Franco. Thank you, Annie. I guess you've all heard about Rakuten. And we embarked on this mission to really transform the telco industry. And we did that by embracing cloud native technology from inception in order to allow us to do product development and delivery in a much more agile fashion. And we did this because we believe that is where the future is going to be with all the networks as well. So if you go to the next slide, if you look at what we have achieved by embracing this approach in Rakuten Mobile, and I'll remind you, it's a fairly new entity that was set up, a new organization that was set up essentially late 2018, beginning of 2019. And within 2 years, in effect, you can see here by January 2021, we managed to achieve population coverage of over 70% in Japan. This is a staggering kind of speed of build for a network. And if you're not really in RF or radio network planning, it might be difficult to appreciate all the challenges that are faced during such a rollout. But it is a staggering kind of achievement that we were able to do. So in terms of transformation, we've made quite a lot of progress, and we have a network now that is performing just as good, or in some cases better, than most of the competitors who have built the networks in the traditional way. So this is a virtual network, it's a software network, it's a cloud, it's based on a cloud platform, cloud technology. And when I talk about performance, this is not a statement that I'm making, but you can see third parties that have done benchmarking in Japan, and you can see that, you know, what that performance is and the quality that we are delivering to customers. So it's a staggering kind of pace that we have achieved with, and now we're serving over 5 million customers in Japan. Go to the next slide. So obviously, in order to achieve something like this, the critical component, as I mentioned earlier in the transformational process, is really the underlying cloud technology. And this has allowed us to operate in a totally different way, totally different from any other telcos in the world. And if you look at processes that you have in the network, or in the engineering of the network, or in the operation of the network, that you can see here some highlights, we have made orders of magnitude improvements in terms of the speed with which we can roll out the network, we can manage the network, we can provision services, and so on. So if you look at things like deploying new network features, for example, which used to take months, we do that in days. If you look at commissioning the sites and deploying the sites, that has been reduced to days from months, and commissioning from hours, many hours, or days to minutes. So we've had to kind of change the whole way of operating in order to accommodate that fast speed of network dynamics and network change that we have deployed. Go to the next slide. So in order to do this, obviously innovation is key. And we've had to innovate in many different areas. And we've adopted an approach where we worked closely with partners, and innovation comes not only from inventing completely new things, but also by combining different things and taking from other areas or other technologies or other industries and embracing those. So we have adopted Open RAN. So as most of you know, we are the first Open RAN network in the world. I mentioned cloud. That is really at the foundation of what we're doing. And that cloud has enabled us to really embrace massive automation, which has resulted in those improvements that you saw earlier on. And last but not least, the whole organization has been based around this new cloud platform, and we have embraced that in the way that we organize, in the way that we work and operate as an organization. So when it comes to RAN, radio network planning, if you go to the next slide. As I mentioned, the cloud platform is the foundation of everything that we are doing here, and everything in terms of that transformation. Obviously, in this journey of transformation, we have been working with a lot of partners. In the case of radio network planning, we have been working with Infovista, and they have joined us in the journey in transforming their solutions so that they embrace also the cloud technology. And this has enabled us to really make a paradigm shift in terms of how radio network planning is approached in the mobile network operators. Usually, radio network planning was done in silos. Traditionally, we have essentially integrated radio network planning within this platform, and one of the kind of pillars of what has that allowed us to do is remove the complexities of how the different applications integrate with each other, interface with each other, and in turn that has then enabled us to really add that in automation and intelligent operation throughout the network lifecycle. The key things here to note really are the fact that we have, by bringing all the applications and actually even the network functions into the platform itself, we have removed the complexity of integrating the different applications. We have standardized how they interface with each other. And what this has allowed us to do, as Franco mentioned earlier, is that even from the beginning of the process, at the very start of the process, when we're talking about inventory in terms of site locations that are available to you, the cost of the lease at a particular site, or the connectivity available at that site, and so on. Those parameters can all be taken into account seamlessly into the network planning process. So you make business optimal decisions. So that allows you to then flow from the beginning that information to flow from the beginning into the process and then take it into consideration even throughout the network life cycle later on when you're trying to do replanning or optimization or any other activities related to changing the network itself. The cloud also gives us the ability to scale. So by having the network planning components in the cloud platform, it gives us this ability to automatically scale the processing that needs to be done in order to perform changes in the network depending on what is happening to the coverage in the network, what is happening to the capacity on the network. And in order to do that, one of the critical things I think that this unified cloud platform brings is the availability of the data. Obviously, if you want to gather network intelligence, you need the data. So having the data available in the platform itself, in the unified platform, is one of the other key aspects, in addition to the fact that you have this seamless integration between the different applications, which are all sitting in the same platform, including the network functions themselves. You also have all the data available in the same place. And this allows us to get intelligent insights, which we can use then for intelligent operation. So you can perceive the network, you can analyze how the network is performing, you have the ability to scale up that analysis. So if something has happened in the network and you need to take action, you can scale the network planning functions, for example, and be able to complete that analysis quickly and then act upon that. So that allows you to have an intelligent operation and automation within the cloud itself, within the platform itself, and take action upon that because you have all the components required in the same platform. So this is for us really a paradigm shifting concept, not only for the radio network planning part. Overall, I think it's a paradigm shift what we're doing with the Rakuten Cloud platform. And obviously we see network planning as one of the critical items because it comes at the beginning of when you're planning the network and rolling out the network 4G or 5G in this case. But it's also required throughout the life cycle of the network because your capacity expands in the network and you need to take certain actions with regards to that. So all of this is enabled by this integration. It's enabled by the elasticity of the platform, the scalability of the different applications that is available now, and the as an end result, you can do a lot of automation. And one of the things I think that previous speakers also mentioned is that we have now partially implemented also autonomy in the network, and that's one of the things that we want to get to. We want to move beyond automation. We want to move to autonomy as well. And I think with this kind of technology that is available to us now, that is becoming a reality. Thank you.